Hi, Patrick Jarrett here, and today we're going to continue our discussion on the pro-life arguments for life and against abortion. Recently, I did a sermon on the pro-life arguments, and I gave it to my church, and they really appreciated it. And recently, I posted a video of the developing of a human fetus, the developing unborn baby being developed in the mother's womb, which is a very powerful video. And now what I want to do is I wanted to create some videos that break down basically my sermon into the four parts, and which were the biblical argument, the philosophical argument, the biological argument, and the constitutional argument. All four are good arguments for the pro-life position and against the pro-choice side or pro-abortion side. So we're going to go through these, and what I'm first going to do is I'm going to give you the biblical argument, and we'll do that as one video. We'll do the philosophical argument as another video on the biological argument, and the fourth video on the constitutional argument, and we'll just expand these out and explain these a little bit, and hopefully these will help equip you as you share the truth of the pro-life argument with your friends and families. So let's go ahead and we'll start with the first, the biblical argument. And so let's look at first Genesis 1:27. At the heart of all pro-life argument should be Genesis 1:27, because it's at the heart of where we find our value. So of course Genesis 1:27 says, "And God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them." And so in this one verse, it communicates the intrinsic human value that we are priceless beyond measure because it is found in who we are created in the image of, that is God. God has eternal priceless value. We're made in his image, and therefore we have priceless value to God. And so your value is being made in God's image. It's not even anything about you as an individual. It's not found in any of your abilities or attributes or anything. Your value is being made in God's image and God's image alone. And so therefore, because you're being in God's image, you have value. It can never be taken away from you. And by the way, this was the part of the main argument for the abolitionist movement, for saying that and ending slavery and even racism in this country, even in the civil rights movement, was this verse of being made in the image of having intrinsic value. And it's actually when we take away this idea of being made in God's image, when we remove that, and people no longer have intrinsic value, and we start dehumanizing people, that is when people break down. That is when we can justify slavery, the Holocaust, and other horrific events, once we take away that intrinsic human value. So this verse is key in the foundational issue for the pro-life movement. So the next one is this: is Psalm 139:13 through 16, which says, "For you formed my inner parts, you willed me in my mother's womb. I'll give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well." And so in this, we get the sense that a person is being made in their mother's womb. But as they're developing a mother's womb, is a person that's being formed there. It is God who's at work, and is, again, you are being created by God, and that you are fearful and wonderful. But at that moment, as you're being formed, you have value. You are a creation of God. You have value, and that cannot be taken away from you. And so this right here, in this verse, we see again, personhood and a worth of who you are as a person found in being made by God. The next one, as it goes on, I forgot. It goes on. You frame my frame was not hidden from you when I was made in a secret and intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes have seen my unshaped substance, and in your book all of them were written, the days of my life formed for me, when as yet they were not one of them. And so even now, even though this child is inside its mother's womb, even then the God sees his person. He sees that this child will have this life, and he knows of the days of the life. And so this again, this is a person that God has created, that God knows. He knows you, even at that point, he knows you as a person, he knows the life will live, and so you have value. Galatians 1:15 then says, "But when God, who has set me apart from my mother's womb, called me through his grace and was pleased." This is where Paul is saying, from his mother's womb, God had already appointed and had ordained that he would be apostle, that he would be a spokesman for Christ. It was already preordained that this was going to happen. And so, and when does it start? Does it happen outside the womb? Is it after when he can convert? No, for the moment of when he was inside his mother's womb, he called Paul forth, and this was going to be his calling. This is what God was moving, and it would take a while in his life before he understood that calling, but it started when? From his mother's womb. Luke 1:42 through 1:44. This is one of my favorite passages. If you remember, um, uh, Mary has been told that she's going to give birth to Jesus, the Savior. And one of the things that very next thing she does is she goes to her sister Elizabeth. The angel had told Mary the evidence that she would be pregnant with the Savior was that her cousin Elizabeth, who had been barren, who at this point was too old to have children, he said, "Go see her. You see Elizabeth, because you'll see that she who was barren is now pregnant," and that would be evidence that again that Mary was going to give birth to Jesus. And so it says this, "And when she cried out with a loud voice and said, 'Blessed are you among women, blessed is the fruit of your womb, and how has it happened to me that the mother of my Lord would come to me? And for behold, when the sound of your greeting reached my ears, a baby leaped in my womb for joy.'" Now, I love this passage because in this passage, you have Jesus, a first trimester baby, and John, who's most likely a third trimester baby. Their interaction, they are seen as value. That when she came and she recognized that Jesus is inside Mary's womb, and that that Jesus is the Lord, and that she is a mother, and you see Jesus has personhood even at the first trimester, and then John at the third trimester is leaping for joy in his mother's womb. We see personhood. We see that is leaping for joy, is interacting, and you can see that. And so we see that and Elizabeth recognizes Jesus' personhood, and so we see that in this person, both Jesus and John, who later become John the Baptist, have value as unborn child. So even from the womb, they have value. Next, Psalm 127, verse 3. "Behold, children are inheritance of Yahweh. The fruit of the womb is a reward." And this is the thing that's important. Children should never be seen as a burden, as something that should weigh you down, or should be something that should be avoided at all costs. In fact, instead, it is supposed to be seen as a blessing, as a reward, as great riches from God, from Yahweh, that He has given you. And this is reward. And so childbearing, having kids should be seen as something great and beautiful and wonderful, and that should not be thought in a negative light at all, but as a joyous, wonderful thing. And so that's why, children are reward. It should be a great thing. Therefore, how could we ever see that as a negative thing? How can we ever see this as a cursing? How can we see this as something that weighs a woman down? Because it shouldn't. It should be something that should be joyfully celebrated. And throughout most history, that was true. Genesis 1:28 then says, God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. One of the commands from the very beginning was for us to have children, and not just a lot, one child or two children, but as many children as you can. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. We're to fill the earth and have good, godly children, and to raise them up in the Lord, to be a blessing, to fill the earth, to be good stewards of the earth, to subdue the earth, and we are to have a lot of children. And again, so children are not a bad thing. Children are a good thing. And so again, we should not look at children in negative light. Genesis 9:6 says, whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For an image of God he made man. And in this we see that again the intrinsic value of human life. That the only just punishment for killing an innocent human life is the death penalty, is capital punishment. That's the only just punishment. And so what we see here is that the value of human life and the costs of human life, and that should never be taken away. And so I'm not saying that we should do necessary capital punishment for mothers who have abortion or for the doctors, but I am saying that they are committing crime. This is a moral crime, and there should be some just punishment for what that should be. But we should understand that that person has value, and God has great value in the person who's made in God's image. Exodus 21:22-33 says, now if a man is struggling with each other and strikes a woman with child, in other words, she is pregnant, and that she gives birth prematurely, yet there is no injury, he shall surely be fined, as a woman's husband will set for him, and he shall pay as the judges decide. But if there is any further injury, then you shall pay for life for life. So what we have here is there's an argument. She goes into labor early, but if there's no injury, if there's no harm to unborn child, if there's no injury to the woman, okay, we'll just be put a fine for the premature birth, but everything okay. But if there is further injury, if the child was to die, then there would be payment, life for life. And usually it could be a financial payment, or it could, the most extreme case could be a capital punishment, death penalty. And so here again, we see the value of human life. We see the value of the unborn human life, that this child has value. Psalm 106:35 and 37:38. Actually, we'll just do it 37:38. It says, they sacrifice their sons and daughters to demons, and it shed innocent blood, the blood of their sons and their daughters, whom they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan, and the land were polluted with blood. And so we see here that these were born children, but the born children who were killed, and innocent blood was shed. This was an abomination. It was equivalent of polluting the land. So the idea of killing your own children, whether it's to demons or anything else, is a sin, is wrong. It pollutes the land, and we've been polluting the land of the United States for too long with the death of unborn children, and it should not be done. So I'll just here we got some basic biblical arguments for why it's wrong, and in biblical times it would have been considered murder to kill your unborn child. And as we go later on to the philosophical arguments next time, I'll expand on how we can make this connection. But we see human life has value. Human life has, from the very beginning, had personhood, and that the taking of innocent life is wrong and and therefore should be punished accordingly. And how we choose punishment may vary from person to person or situation to situation. but that is a true thing. So here's the basic biblical argument. This is unrefutable. There's going to be some Christians who are going to try, progressive Christians trying to argue otherwise. In future video, I'll look at those counter arguments that progressive Christians say to try to say, no, it's okay. And I'm going to we'll look at those verses that they try to quote and prove them wrong, that they are giving a wrong biblical argument for pro-choice. And that the only biblical Christian thing is a pro-life and being anti-abortion. Abortion is wrong. It is the killing of an innocent human life who has intrinsic value, who is made in God's image, and we should not dare ever do it. So, there's your argument. God bless you. Have a great day. If you like these videos, please like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. God bless you, and have a good day.